Hey, so we're back at it. And yeah, like I mentioned in one of my other videos, during this COVID lockdown, I have managed to get my hands on a number of items which in the past I had not done for a number of reasons. So what's different now? I'm not really sure if they're just popping up or people are so focused on, getting ammo if they can find it. The point is that some cool things have turned up pretty recently, so I figured, why not just jump on it and just roll. So what we have today is a little bit different than the other few I've shown. This being a pistol. So this one popped up on everybody's favorite auction site, and actually from a place that I bought from a number of times in the past. They always do well by me, and mainly the source of the stuff that they bring in. So collectible is a relative term, but mostly like police trade and stuff from overseas, and they usually come up with a pretty broad mix of items. Mixture between, call it official channels, procurement items, such as a relatively large lot of Smith & Wessons over the last few years, through indirect channels, being stuff that they've captured in the region, either through active conflict or just by virtue of where they're located, this being Israel. So they have a lot of arms flowing through there that are, they just show up through different means. Into perhaps military turn-ins. Now, I have not seen too many, let's say, official military turn-in side of things. Usually it's from anything official, it's more like police turn-ins, and then items that they've amassed or captured or collected or whatnot, just by being Israel and everyone coming at them wanting to blow them off the face of the earth. So it gets kind of interesting. So there's all kinds of things appearing over there. So anyway, so that brings us to this right here. So this one came up. I have not purchased one of these in the past. I've always turned it up, or gone past any opportunity just because it was either too expensive or out of my wheel well, or maybe just out of concern that if I started with one, I'd go down a slippery slope, which once I open the box, you'll realize what I'm talking about. Because once people start getting into collecting these, usually there's no going back, and there is a billion plus one variations and variants out there. So I told myself I'd play nice with this and leave it at this. We'll just see what turns up afterwards. So with that said, let's see what we got in here. So came in a plain white box. This company usually sells it in these white boxes, which is pretty cool. And what do we have? Boom. Got myself a Luger. Now, I think many people will look at this and think, well, it looks like a pretty trashed up Luger. And it's not really. Once we start looking into it, maybe you'll see what I see. If not, that's cool. But yeah, so this thing came out of Israel, and in conversation with the importer, they were mentioning that this was in the hands of a collector over there. And if I've understood, whenever in Israel, when someone, or collector or an owner passes, their family, I guess, is not immediately entitled to taking over their collection. They have to do some paperwork or turn it in or something like that. I don't really know. I haven't even looked up Wikipedia. I'm just going based off of, internet stuff, which I'm not too concerned about. But the fact is that this was over there. So what's different about this? Well, let's first look at what's the same. So absolutely a Luger. Now looking at when it was manufactured, let's see if I can get it over here to show in my super fancy studio light. 1917. one thing should stand out pretty clearly to anyone who knows Lugers, and that's these grips. So these grips are actually cast aluminum. I'll take them off afterwards just to give a look-see, but cast aluminum, and the texturing is pretty good. So I've asked in the forums if anyone's been aware of any Luger aluminum grips. Hasn't come up with a yes. Everyone mentions I guess the Gray Ghost, the P38s from France that had aluminum grips that were stamped, I believe, but none actual Luger ones. So what this is about, I'm not really sure, but they're on here. They're really well made. So I think there's a couple options. One, which would be the coolest, of course, is some mysterious either prototype or previously unknown production grip. Or two, that some enterprising individual gunsmith artisan took an original pair of grips and did a cast, a mold, and then poured aluminum in. That would potentially explain why it has this good texturing, which is very reminiscent of the wood grips, but doesn't necessarily explain it all. So I'm not really sure now. The importer was telling me that because of these grips, the owner was actually thinking of holding on to this piece. So I don't know, but regardless, it's pretty cool. All right, so we got a 1917 here on the receiver bridge. Another thing that stands out is, so we start seeing here 47, 47, 47. Let's see if we can get it right here. Maybe not, but the barrel says 47. So once we start looking into the toggle system, it changes a bit. So 22 DWM, and on the rear sight area 22. So the toggle system is not matching to the gun. So when I first picked it up, I commented as like, oh, expecting this to be a mix master, total mix master, and my dealer subtly reminded me that in Luger collector world, if one part is off, then it is as good as a total mix master. So again, I wanted a shooter. I'm not really too concerned about that. So I'll call it a mostly matching. The safety component, I think it says 62. So that's a one-off aside from the toggle system. So anyway, someone at some point in time has swapped out some parts. Now then on the back here, it's got one stamp that for sure I can see is a 7. Don't know what that's about. And then this little jazz right here, not sure what that is. I don't know if that's an overstamp or what. But the one thing that is, or the one type of stamp that is notably absent from this thing is the Waffenamts. So looks like it was in German Imperial service, because we got these little suckers right here. And we got the typical barrel markings down here at the bottom. Again, the barrel's not showing up too well, but they're there. But no Waffenamps. So whether this was in World War I and then left Germany, was never pressed back into service in World War II. There's no date overstamp either, so it wasn't reworked over there. That's when you start speculating onto where this thing has been. But yeah, so it looks like it was in World War I and then basically went out for greener pastures or sand dunes, depending on how it got to Israel. But yeah. Now then the other part that's interesting, to me at least, is this. So there's a post-production serial number added to the gun right here. Now, I'm not familiar enough with Israeli law. I believe I have read mention that they would catalog their, their foreign military weapons in a different way, be it in civilian hands or collectors, or who knows, maybe this was the collector's stamping. I'm not really sure, but fact of the matter is that it's there, and it's not a production stamp. And actually, the importer didn't reference that number. They referenced the 47. So it's 2-digit serial number, handgun. But then at some point, another serial number was added. So, yep, I have not shot it just yet. Everything seems very tight, very good. The mag it came with is not an original mag. I actually thought this was kind of humorous, and that's just because I never knew that these things were made anywhere but, call it the U.S. For the commercial, Italy for the commercial, but that's stamped Mexico. So at some point in time, it looks like some company had magazines made down in Mexico. Now, if this is a triple K or something, I really don't know. There are a few things that intrigue me less than a commercial magazine. So, the thing works. Though I may get myself some Mekar or something a little bit more, I don't know, suitable maybe, whatever. But anyway, it seems to work. The spring is nice and tense, and from hand cycling it works well. So yeah, I mean, shoot, honestly, if I just held onto this one, I think I'd be pretty well, but we'll see how it goes at the range. But anyway, yep, that's a Mexican mag. And then the handgun itself is what you see here. So let's see if I can get my screwdriver out so we can take a look at these grips. So I find it comical whenever I see a YouTube video and they start getting preachy about, checking the chamber and all that stuff. Yeah, whatever. But the one part that I do think is relevant, I'm not sure I've really seen many videos on, is that if you do take a screwdriver to your firearms, make sure it's a gunsmith screwdriver set. Main reason being that if you look and you've noticed a screw in any old gun that you get that is all marred up, is because some genius put in a screwdriver that wasn't properly fitting. So these gunsmith screwdriver kits, I got mine from CD&N for like $5 or something. And essentially what they do is that they have the width and then the thickness to fit fully into the screw that you are manipulating. Now, if it's not fully in there, be it by width or by depth, then that's when you start scratching things and, realizing you're a fool after the fact. So, yeah, get yourself some proper screwdrivers. Not expensive. If it's not CD&N, I'm sure Amazon has them, even though I have not seen them. So anyway, all right. So here's the right panel grip. So just quickly on the inside, the pistol is in pretty nice shape. The spring is nice and straight. All the mechanism on the inside is good. No pitting. The only pitting on this thing's right up here, chamber area. But on the inside, it looks pretty snazzy. So then this grip that we got here, it's aluminum grip. It's solid. It is clearly machined, but it's not anything weird like if they covered the original wood grip in aluminum or something. I mean, it's definitely cast. And again, I just have the feeling that, well, I mean, it was cast against the wood one, but whoever did this has a passion for aluminum. Maybe at some point they were in a different color. I do see some hue here, but these things are old. So if anyone knows and anyone's seen one of these things before, just let me know. But it's really well made. It's solid. No air pockets, which is pretty interesting, meaning that they did a a proper casting, so there's no bubbles. It was in there smoothly. I mean, this thing was well made. So, yep, I'll take some pictures of this later and see if there's any detail I can get from it. But anyway, and I won't worry about taking off the other side. It's mainly the same thing. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, this is whatever it is. I think I'm already losing count. Maybe the 4th or the 5th firearm that I show during this COVID situation. And yeah, figured, yeah, why not? So I'll take it up to the range maybe this week. I'll dust off some 124 grain full metal jacket. I know the Lugers like the heavier stuff, the European spec stuff. I'll take some 115 grain just to ensure it works. And maybe I'll cook up a batch of reloads, usually probably lead projectile, and see how that does. Ultimately I want to feed it with what it likes, but that involves trying out a whole bunch of different things. I won't get too creative with the hollow points or nothing like that, but yeah, anyway, so I figured I'd show this and see what else I come up with. All right, so if you have any questions or comments, let me know. And otherwise, be safe, and until next time. See you.